A poor girl finds a billionaire trapped inside a burning car. He screams, "Please don't let me die here." She tries to save him, but what happens changes her life forever. People never looked down. They hurried along, eyes glued to their phones or the horizon, never noticing the small figure moving among them. To the world, Lily didn't exist. She was just another shadow drifting through the forgotten corners of the city. At only 12 years old, Lily had already mastered the art of invisibility. It wasn't a choice but a necessity. Orphaned at 9 when her grandmother, her only family, passed away, she had slipped through the cracks of the system. Rather than face the horrors of foster care that her grandmother had warned her about, Lily chose the streets. The rain came down in sheets that night, pounding against the city pavement. Most people had hurried inside, but Lily didn't mind the downpour. Rain meant emptier streets, less chance of being spotted, and sometimes even discarded umbrellas she could salvage. She was cutting through her usual shortcut, an alley behind the financial district, when she heard it. The sickening crunch of metal against concrete, followed by the screech of tires. Then silence. For a moment she considered walking away. Whatever happened wasn't her business. Survival meant avoiding trouble, staying invisible. But something pulled her toward the sound. Perhaps curiosity, or maybe that small part of her that remained stubbornly human despite everything the world had thrown at her. At the end of the alley she saw it. A sleek black sports car had swerved off the road and crashed into a concrete wall. The front end was crushed, and wisps of smoke were already curling from beneath the crumpled hood. In seconds, those wisps became hungry flames, dancing higher despite the rain. Lily approached cautiously. Through the driver's window she could see a man. His expensive suit was now stained with blood from a gash on his forehead. He was conscious but trapped, pinned by the crushed dashboard. Their eyes met, and for a single moment the barriers of their worlds, separated by wealth, age and circumstance, dissolved. "Please," he gasped, panic clear in his voice. "Please don't let me die here." Lily hesitated. Helping meant being seen. Being seen meant questions, authorities, and possibly being forced into the system she'd fought so hard to avoid. But the flames were growing higher, feeding on leaking fuel. In minutes the car would become a coffin. "The door's jammed," she said, yanking at the handle. "The window," the man coughed as smoke began filling the car. "Break the window." Lily looked around frantically, spotting a discarded brick near a dumpster. She grabbed it, hesitating only briefly before smashing it against the passenger window. The safety glass spiderwebbed but held. She struck again, harder this time, and the window shattered, raining tiny cubes of glass over the passenger seat. The heat from the fire was intense now, singeing her eyebrows as she leaned in through the window. "Can you move at all?" she asked, coughing as smoke invaded her lungs. "My legs are pinned," he said, his voice steadier than she expected from someone facing death. "But I can move my upper body." The dashboard had collapsed onto his knees, trapping him. No way to pull him out through the door even if they could open it. The passenger side was their only chance. "You need to climb over to this side," Lily said, her young voice suddenly commanding. "Use your arms to pull yourself over." He nodded, grimacing with pain as he began dragging himself across the center console. The flames had reached the engine block now. They didn't have much time. Lily leaned further into the car, ignoring the scorching heat, and grabbed his suit jacket. Using all her strength, honed by years of climbing fire escapes and scavenging in dumpsters, she helped pull him toward the passenger side. "Almost there," she encouraged as his torso cleared the console. "Just a little more." With one final effort, he dragged himself to the passenger seat. Lily immediately hooked her arms under his and began pulling him through the window. He was heavy, much heavier than anything she normally carried, but adrenaline gave her unexpected strength. His legs cleared the window just as the flames reached the driver's seat he had occupied moments before. Together they tumbled backward onto the wet pavement, rolling a few feet from the burning vehicle. "We need to move," Lily gasped, already trying to drag him further away. It might explode. Somehow they managed to reach the relative safety of the alley entrance. Seconds later, a whoosh of flames engulfed the entire car as the fuel tank ignited. The heat wave hit them even from a distance, a reminder of how close they'd both come to death. The man lay on his back in the rain, blood and water mingling on his face, but his eyes were clear and focused on Lily. There was something in those eyes she'd never seen directed at her before, not pity or disgust, but genuine gratitude and something deeper, like recognition. "You saved my life," he said, his voice hoarse from the smoke. Lily was already backing away. In the distance, sirens wailed. Someone had called emergency services. People would come, ask questions, try to help her. "Wait," the man called, somehow sensing her retreat. "Please. What's your name?" She hesitated, 1 foot already in the shadows of the alley. Names had power. Names could be traced. "Lily," she finally whispered, not sure why she told him. "I'm Alexander," he replied. Alexander Kingsley. The name meant nothing to her, but the way he said it suggested it should. "Thank you, Lily," he continued. "I won't forget this." But she was already gone, melting into the shadows as the first police car rounded the corner. By the time the paramedics were loading Alexander Kingsley into an ambulance, Lily was blocks away, huddled in her current sleeping spot, an abandoned storage room accessed through a broken window in the back of an old bookstore. She tried to forget the incident, to return to her invisible existence. But something had changed. For the first time in years, someone had seen her, really seen her. Not as a problem or a statistic or something to be ignored, but as a person who mattered. 3 days later, Lily was doing what she always did, searching for food in the dumpster behind Chen's restaurant, when she noticed the flyers. They were everywhere, plastered on lamp posts and shop windows throughout her usual territory. Her heart nearly stopped when she saw what was printed on them. "Looking for Lily, a young girl saved my life on April 17th during the rainstorm. If you are Lily or know her, please contact this number. Reward offered. No questions asked. Alexander Kingsley." Below was a phone number and the logo of Kingsley Enterprises, one of the largest corporations in the city. That's when Lily realized who Alexander Kingsley was. The billionaire tech mogul whose face occasionally appeared on magazine covers and billboards throughout the city. A billionaire was looking for her. For a week, Lily avoided her usual haunts, terrified of being recognized. She slept in different spots each night, venturing into unfamiliar parts of the city. But resources were scarcer here, and twice she narrowly escaped older street kids who guarded their territory fiercely. Hunger eventually drove her back to the alley behind Chen's restaurant. Mr. Chen sometimes left perfectly good food in separate bags atop the dumpster, never acknowledging her presence but clearly aware of it. Tonight there was indeed a paper bag waiting, still warm. As she reached for it, a deep voice spoke from the shadows. "You're a hard person to find, Lily." She spun around, ready to flee, but froze when she recognized the man stepping forward. Alexander Kingsley. His forehead now bore a bandage instead of an open wound, and he walked with a slight limp, but otherwise looked remarkably put together for someone who had nearly burned to death a week earlier. "How did you find me?" she asked, backing away. "I didn't," he said, remaining where he stood as if sensing her fear. "I've been coming here every night. Mr. Chin mentioned a young girl comes by regularly." Lily glanced at the restaurant's back door, feeling a strange mix of betrayal and gratitude. Mr. Chin had never spoken to her, yet had been feeding her for months. "What do you want?" she asked, calculating the distance to the alley exit. "To thank you," Alexander said simply, "and to offer you something in return." "I don't need your money," Lily lied. Of course she needed money, but taking it would mean being indebted, being seen, being found. Alexander studied her with intelligent eyes that seemed to see right through her defenses. "What about a home?" The question hit her like a physical blow. A home. The word itself felt foreign, something from another lifetime. "I'm not going to foster care," she said firmly. "Or an orphanage. That's not what I'm offering." He hesitated, then continued carefully. "My sister died 3 years ago. Cancer. Her daughter, my niece, would have been about your age." Lily said nothing but stopped calculating escape routes. "I have a large house," Alexander continued. "Too large for one person. I'm offering you a place to stay, no strings attached. You want to leave any time, the door's open. No one will force you to stay." "Why would you do that?" Suspicion colored her voice. "No one did something for nothing, especially not adults." "Because you saved my life without asking for anything in return," he answered. "And because everyone deserves a chance." "I don't need charity," Lily said, but her voice lacked conviction. "It's not charity," Alexander replied. "Consider it a job. You'll have your own room, meals, clothes, education. In return, you keep me honest." "What does that mean?" "It means that wealth can make people forget what matters. Having someone around who sees me as just a person, not a billionaire, someone who'll tell me the truth, that's valuable." Lily considered his words. It could be a trick, but her instincts, honed by years on the street, didn't sense danger from this man. And winter was coming. Last winter had nearly killed her. "I can leave whenever I want?" she asked. "Whenever you want," he confirmed. "No questions asked." "And school?" If you want. Or tutors. Whatever works best. Lily took a deep breath. 1 month, she said finally. I'll try it for 1 month. The smile that spread across Alexander's face seemed genuine, not the smile of someone who had won, but of someone who had been given a gift. 1 month, he agreed. That 1 month turned into 2, then 6, then a year. The transition wasn't easy. Lily woke screaming from nightmares. She hoarded food in her room. She flinched at sudden movements. She tested boundaries constantly, waiting for the other shoe to drop, for Alexander to reveal his true intentions. But the revelation never came. Instead, there were quiet dinners where he asked about her day and actually listened to her answers. There were books, so many books, that filled the gaps in her self-taught education. There was patience when she raged against the unfairness of a world that had forgotten her. There was respect for her independence and fierce intelligence. Most importantly, there was the gradual realization that they were healing each other. Alexander had been as lost as she was, though his prison had been built of wealth and isolation rather than poverty and invisibility. By saving him from that burning car, Lily had inadvertently saved herself. Not because he gave her a home, although that mattered, but because he gave her the one thing she'd never had. Someone who saw her, truly saw her, not as a problem or a project but as a person of value. 5 years later, Lily Kingsley stood at the podium, accepting her high school diploma as valedictorian. In the audience, Alexander watched with undisguised pride. Beside him sat Mr. Chin and his wife, who had become regular dinner guests at the Kingsley home. My journey to this stage was unconventional, Lily told the crowd. 4 years I was invisible, one of the thousands of children who fall through the cracks in our society. It took a car crash and a fire to make someone see me. She met Alexander's eyes across the auditorium. But it shouldn't take a catastrophe for us to see each other. Every day we walk past people who are struggling, who are invisible. We look at our phones, at the horizon, at anywhere but directly into the eyes of those who need us most. Lily paused, taking in the sea of faces now focused entirely on her. People never look down. They hurry along, eyes glued to their phones or the horizon, never noticing the small figures moving among them. I was once one of those small figures. Now I stand before you with a promise, to use my education, my voice, and my second chance to make sure fewer children remain in the shadows. After the ceremony, as they walked to the car, Alexander handed her a small box. I was saving this for graduation, he said. Inside was a set of keys and legal documents. The keys belonged to a new community center in the city's poorest neighborhood. The documents were the finalized adoption papers, something they had discussed for years but had left up to Lily to decide when she was ready. You saved me twice, Alexander said quietly. Once from the fire and once from the person I was becoming. Lily, who had once been invisible to the world, looked at the man who had become her father in all the ways that mattered. The small flame of hope that had been kindled in an alley on a rainy night had grown into something powerful and enduring. We saved each other, she corrected him. And that was the truth. Sometimes salvation comes in the most unexpected moments, when we choose to see each other, to reach through the flames, and to believe that every life has value, even the one society has forgotten. Sometimes all it takes is looking down, and seeing the shadows that move among us.